I'm making a video game with underwater mechanics. In this devlog, categorizing feedback, bug fixes, additional features, just kidding, more bug fixes. Thank you to all of those that participated in the playtest, reported bugs, suggested features, and gave Don't Drown a shot. I collected all the feedback from various sources, categorized it, and added tasks on my Trello board to address some of it. The playtest will remain playable but hidden until a new playtest is available. At the time of recording, Watermelon Warlord has the top score in every level in the medium difficulty. While the playtest was live, I focused on fixing the most egregious bugs. When I implemented the ability to display keybinds on the UI, I didn't stop to think if everything needed a keybind. Players would unintentionally quit the game by pressing the T key instead of R when trying to restart, so I removed the hotkeys that let you quit. First, I deleted them from the action map. Then I removed the hotkey usage from all of the panels. Then I double-checked that all the panels looked right. As practice, I published a build containing only this change to Steam, to get the hang of fixing things and keeping things up to date. I started by creating a configuration with the problematic resolution and seeing if that reproduced the issues. I worked on anchoring the UI. I had to add the vertical and horizontal components to get everything to look nicely. I fixed the main menu first, since that's what originally found a lack of ultra-wide support. Then, I checked which other in-game menus were broken. To my surprise, the death screen scaled correctly. A friend taught me how to use the canvas properties and that I should match based on height since I am making a platformer instead of width. That change fixed most of the problems. Then, I went through and fixed the credits screen using the same canvas approach. As the last step, I double-checked all the canvases in the game to ensure they now had the correct canvas properties. The leaderboards had a few bugs, which were only apparent once I had more entries to test with. The first bug I fixed was the presence of a leaderboard icon for the tutorial level, even though no leaderboard exists for that level. On the level complete screen, the leaderboards panel would only display results for the first tab. For this bug, the results were loading correctly, but the panel clears the entries when it was activated due to a call within the awake function. So, I restructured my code to not require that call in the awake function and the bug was fixed. The next leaderboard bug occurred when a player didn't have an entry in the leaderboard. They would just get empty panels on the global tabs. This bug was caused by using the global around user retrieval method, which returns no entries if the user is not on the board. In this scenario, the top 8 entries are retrieved from the global leaderboard as the fallback. This also fixed the bug that only the first 5 entries were loaded, since I rewrote things to always get 8 entries. Since the friends call returns all data, I logged a Trello task to make those panels scrollable. When I added rebinding support, I excluded the option to rebind actions to mouse buttons. Adding support for this required removing the exclusion for that control option. Afterwards, I had to rename some sprites in the keyboard and mouse sheet to get them to show up. Once they were displayable, I worked on fixing their alignment. User Watermelon Warlord found a big discrepancy with rebinding swim to W instead of space and slowing down horizontal movement. Originally, I dismissed this as a skill issue. However, through rigorous troubleshooting, Watermelon Warlord correctly pointed out there was a difference related to the binding. In order to confirm the bug, I created a test area with checkpoints that would print the time when you entered them. Then, I gathered some data when using the space key without boost and with boost. I also did the same run with swimming rebound to W and compared the differences. I tried a few more variations and made a chart of the differences to prove that indeed there was a difference. With the debug info GUI I use in Editor, it was clear that the velocity was lower when pressing W. I updated the info GUI to also display the horizontal input, and noticed it sent 0.7 instead of 1.0. This value is multiplied by the maximum speed, which accounts for the space difference. Since I used the default generated input actions for movement, I inherited the behavior that comes with. I added a processor to normalize the vector and still had the problem. I suspect this bug comes from the way the Vector 2D composite works and the activation of both up and right resulting in a diamond shape input range, which would give me a value of 0.7 for the horizontal input when also using up or down. Since those bindings weren't used anyway, I deleted them, which fixed the bug. To confirm, I retested the scenario and checked that checkpoints were hit in the same order. The last bug I tried to fix was unintentionally clipping into the level when hitting a trap. Using the editor's frame-by-frame functionality, I learned that this bug is caused by placing the chest at a desired position, which then pushes the player backwards through a wall. I tried switching to using forces, which only worked when looking left, which I found out later was due to the force on the chest being applied in the wrong direction. I asked a game dev friend for some help, and he was able to help me come up with some force values that wouldn't cause the player to be pushed backwards. With this approach, I had most of the edge cases working. However, I wasn't a fan of it since the force required caused the chest to be thrown a ridiculous amount. Additionally, you could eventually throw the chest into the level instead of yourself. I tried messing with the drag for a chest, which worked better since the chest doesn't travel as fast. On the other hand, it made the chest sink really slowly, making throwing the chest at the anchor not viable. So, I went back to the drawing board. Another approach I explored was placing the chest on a different non-interactable layer while it was being thrown. This worked, but had the side effect that touching the chest made it turn invisible. A property on the Collider 2D, force and layers, seemed to be perfect for what I wanted to do. Unfortunately, it's on the latest version of Unity and upgrading scares me at the moment. The root of the problem is that the placement of the chest is where the player is, so I worked on a different approach that would move the chest further away. After a while, I had a solution that would place the chest farther away if there's enough room, ignoring physics. I also spent time finding at what point placing the chest would place it inside the wall when ignoring physics. Based on this threshold, the code instead uses physics, which pushes the player back a little bit. To test the solution, I replayed through the scenario that caused the bug and was happy with the results. I also tested some corner cases with traps. Since I only added the ground layer to the raycast check, you were able to place a chest inside of mine. So I updated the layer check to account for that, and was happy that the bug was fixed. I published an updated build with this updated solution. Unfortunately, I already have a sample of another edge case, so we can't call this one completely fixed just yet. Last devlog, I wanted to focus on the design for the third world. Thanks to everyone that tried the game and submitted bugs, I instead focused on improving the current experience. There's still some bugs that need to be fixed and some features needed to address the feedback. So, for the next devlogs, I'll balance adding that with expanding content for the game. That's it for this devlog. My focus for the next part will be rework the scoring system based on feedback, tackle some small bugs found in the playtest, design the tiles for the third world, design the movement mechanics for a new enemy type. If you want to support me, please visit the Don't Drown store page linked in the description and add the game to your wishlist. Until next time.